Earlier today, President Trump hosted the president of El Salvador in the Oval Office, and he said his country cannot and will not return Kilmar Abrego Garcia to the United States, who the Justice Department says was deported to El Salvador by mistake.
How can I return him to the United States? Like, I smuggle him into the United States, or what do I do? Of course, I'm not going to do it. It's like, the question is preposterous. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States.
Now the Trump administration claims there was no mistake. So I want to level set for a moment. Last week, the Supreme Court said the deportation was illegal and that the administration must facilitate his return. But that does not seem like it is going to happen. Today, Trump and the president of El Salvador sat in the Oval Office, defying the nation's highest court. They repeatedly referred to Garcia as a gang member and a criminal terrorist. And they made those claims without any shred of evidence. They showed the world what it looks like to defy a co-equal branch of government. That act right there should shock all of us. It reminded me of January 2017, back in the early days of the first Trump White House, when Kellyanne Conway, then counselor to the president, referred to what she called alternative facts. Well, today, Donald Trump showed us again that facts do not matter to his administration when he has a specific agenda. Supreme Court rulings, they don't matter either. He is not hiding it. These are alternative facts, and we need to call them out. Not because we're standing against the president or his policies. We need to do it because we are in favor of the rule of law. My friend Joyce Vance is here. She's a former U.S. attorney who spent 25 years as a federal prosecutor. Joyce, what's the problem here?
Well, golly, I mean, it would be easier to say what isn't a problem here, because everything is wrong, starting from the point that Bukele, El Salvador's president, is deeply opposed to the rule of law. Back in February, for instance, when Elon Musk was tweeting about impeaching judges, Bukele jumped in on Twitter and talked about the importance of getting rid of, quote, corrupt judges, which of course meant judges that ruled against the president of either country. And so that's where we find ourselves. This is about, on the one hand, people who have been illegally deported. On the other hand, it's about undermining the rule of law and leaving the president with so much power at his disposal that he can take anyone he wants to and dump them in an El Salvadoran prison without any form of due process preceding that action.
But, Joyce, is this about precedent for the White House? Because lots of people could say, listen, Mr. President, I appreciate what you're doing. It's a difficult and valiant effort. You made a mistake. Bring the guy back. Is the reason the White House doesn't want it is because it sets a precedent? And if this precedent is set, all sorts of others will make the argument that they should come back as well. Is that what this is about?
I think that's exactly right, and it works both ways. They're standing firm here because they want all of their deportations to stand up, so they're concerned about the precedent in that sense. They also want to use it to move forward, and we heard that very clearly from Trump today when he talked about what he characterized as homegrown American citizens who he might want to deport. And so he's looking, again, to accumulate all of that power in his own hands.
We actually have that soundbite. I want to play it.
They're great facilities, very strong facilities, and they don't play games. I'd like to go a step further. I mean, I said it to Pam. I don't know what the laws are. We always have to obey the laws, but we also have homegrown criminals. I'd like to include them in the group of people to get them out of the country, but you'll have to be looking at the laws on that.
Is that even remotely constitutional? I mean, you hear something like that, and Trump's defying last week's orders. I'm thinking, is John Roberts going to stand up and say or do anything here?
Well, I can't predict what the Supreme Court will or won't do, but I can tell you with startling clarity that it's illegal to deport American citizens for committing crimes. You know, this is really about outsourcing prisons, these sort of for-profit prisons that were in vogue for a while during the last Trump administration. and this notion that instead of having constitutionally sound prisons, we should turn it into a profit-driven enterprise, which of course incentivizes incarcerating more people and for longer periods of time. That's another angle in this entire sort of sordid mess. But here we've got a president who's clearly talking about exceeding the bounds of the law.
All right, Joyce, here's a new topic and one we really need you to explain to us. The SAVE Act. It is now on its way to the Senate. It would mean sweeping changes to voter registration, and it could actually affect millions of married women. Can you explain what we need to know here? Because this one, there's so much news out there. This one's flying by a lot of us.
It is, and it's super important stuff. The SAVE Act is a law that the House has passed. It's off to the Senate, and it would make it much more difficult for Americans to register to vote because they would have to prove that they're citizens. Only a limited number of documents will suffice to do that. A passport is one. Passports are expensive. They cost upwards of $100. A certified birth certificate will do that. But for 69 million American women who took their husband's name when they got married, the documents don't match up, and it becomes much more difficult to register to vote under the SAVE Act. So this is a real problem. It's an effort to suppress the vote. It will disproportionately impact women among other groups of people.